Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was sitting on the ground, and the old man was sitting on the ground, inside the conference room of the Fisk building. The interior decoration is extremely luxurious, but it does not lose the cold atmosphere. A group of gangsters sat around the oval conference table. Their faces were different, some were gloomy, some were cunning, and some were cruel. Their eyes were like the north wind on a winter night, cold and biting. They wore a variety of suits, from smooth silk to stiff wool, which undoubtedly revealed their unique taste. However, even the most gorgeous clothes could not hide the fact that they were low-class people from Hell's Kitchen. When the door was pushed open and Chen Ye walked into the conference room, the air seemed to solidify. He slowly walked to the other end of the table, sat in the main seat, and then quietly scanned the people in the venue. The eyes of the gang leader stayed on his face for a moment, and then quickly moved away. Emotions surged in their hearts: awe, curiosity, disdain, and even a hint of surprise. At this time, the atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became tense, as if everyone was silently counting the time in their hearts, waiting for the drama to be staged. Jean Bing seemed to have no objection to Chen Ye sitting in the main seat. Jean Bing sat to the lower right of Chen Ye. Seeing that the time was almost up, Jean Bing immediately waved his hand and signaled everyone to be quiet. Then he said, "Thank you all for giving me Jean Bing this face, so I won't steal the show. Today, we are gathered here. I believe everyone knows that it was my godson Chen Ye who invited everyone. Let him speak below." Chen Ye immediately said, "Hello, all the garbage living in hell." His voice was low and magnetic, as if there was a kind of magic that no one present could ignore. As soon as this was said, the leaders were like a pot of boiling water, and they all started to curse. "Chen Ye, what do you mean? Is this meeting for you to insult us? Who are you to say that to us?" Chen Ye calmly glanced at the gang leaders present. The only ones who were relatively calm were the leaders of the Irish and British gangs. "Isn't it? Look at the way each of you looks. Who would say that you are serious people?" The leader of the Irish gang, Tom, couldn't help but say at this time. "Let's get to the point quickly. We are not here for you to mock us." Seeing this, Chen Ye also said straight to the point, "As for me, I am going to open a community college here, and basically everything has been done. You also know that it takes a lot of money to open a school. This time, the main thing is to ask you to sponsor and solve the enrollment problem." By the way, Chen Ye paused, glanced around at everyone, and saw that they all had a feeling of wanting to say something but not being able to. "The most important thing is that I hope all minors under the age of 18 in Hell's Kitchen go to community college, including your family members and your gang members." As soon as this was said, there was a burst of laughter in the conference room. "Going to school, I am dying of laughter. You are asking gangsters to go to school. What's the difference between asking sows to climb trees? I have never been to school since I was born, but I am still messing around today." At this time, the gang leaders felt that Chen Ye was a little whimsical, and everyone wanted to leave. Tommy Shelby on the side asked curiously, "I can accept your conditions, but what do you have to pay?" Everyone looked at Chen Ye. Chen Ye was not flustered. "Before answering this question, I would like to ask everyone present, are you satisfied with your current life? I live on the edge of a knife every day, and I live in fear every day. I may drive a luxury car and live in a villa today. Tomorrow I will be killed by my enemies and my head and body will be separated. I believe that everyone present here must have more than dozens of lives to achieve today's achievements. Because we live in hell, this is a place where the weak are preyed on by the strong. If we want to survive, we must kill the other party, even if that person is your relative." As soon as Chen Ye's words came out, everyone was thinking silently. Chen Ye then pointed to a gang leader and asked, "Joyce Bud, I remember that your father was also a gang leader before. Have you ever thought about what you would like to do if you were not a gangster?" Joyce Bud thought for a while and then said, "I have never thought about this question, because since I can remember, I just followed my dad to join the gang. I have never done anything else except the gang." Chen Ye then said, "See, you have no choice at all. Your parents have never taught you what is the right thing to do, nor have they told you that you can actually be an athlete or a teacher in addition to the gang. Some people's parents may even die in gang fights when they are just born. Here in Hell's Kitchen, we can only think about how to live every day, and live by any means. We have no choice, and we have no time to think, we can only try our best to live. If there is a choice, would you still want to live like this? Chen Ye can clearly feel that some gang leaders have agreed with what he said. Everyone here, even if you are a gang leader now, we will still be despised when we walk out of Hell's Kitchen, because we are born with the label of Hell's Kitchen. In the eyes of outsiders, Hell's Kitchen is a group of unforgivable garbage, the dregs of society. People outside always look at us with tinted glasses. They don't know our pain because no one speaks for us. It's not our fault to be born in hell. But if we don't change, it's our fault. The reason why I set up a school is that the school can give children choices, and children can think about the life they want in school safely. Don't let the next generation follow our old path. It's enough for hell to have a group of scum like us. Chen Ye said passionately. Jean Bing next to him looked at Chen Ye in front of him with a very gratified look. If there were schools back then, perhaps there would not be today's underground emperor Jean Bing. Are you sympathizing with us now? A gang leader didn't buy it. Chen Ye stared at the gang leader coldly. You don't deserve my sympathy, and you don't need my sympathy. This is your own choice. We are a bunch of bastards born in hell. Will you stop selling drugs and pimping if you get some sympathy? Bastards have to eat too. I just want you to sympathize with minors. Give them a chance to go to heaven. As for whether they want to go to heaven or stay in hell in the future, that is their own choice. I am not a saint, and I don't want to be a saint. I am just like you, a bastard living in hell. The only difference may be that I have a conscience than you bastards. After Chen Ye finished speaking, he glanced at the expressions of the gang leaders present. Their faces were different. Some became ashamed, some were thoughtful, but most of them were indeed impatient. After all, those who can become gang leaders are all hard-hearted and ruthless. They will not be moved by Chen Ye's words. Everyone cares more about interests. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Mexican gang leader Gust had had enough of Chen Ye's nagging, and his originally rough face became a little distorted because of impatience. His eyes were like knives, staring at Chen Ye, and there was a dangerous light flashing in his deep black eyes. You are so annoying. He interrupted Chen Ye rudely. I don't care whether those kids go to school or not. They can make a lot of money by selling drugs with me. They don't even need to go to school. Anyway, I will touch anyone who touches my people. Gust's voice was full of threats, as if anyone who dared to touch his bottom line would be ruthlessly hit. Me too. Right. Some gang leaders began to whisper, and they were obviously dissatisfied with Chen Ye's preaching. Seeing someone take the lead and confront Chen Ye, some gang leaders followed suit. However, in this group of opposition, Chen Ye did not show any panic or uneasiness. He looked at the gang leaders coldly, revealing an indescribable majesty in his eyes. Before Chen Ye could speak, Tom, the leader of the Irish gang, chuckled softly, and then said to Chen Ye, "Young man, you are still too young. You think you can take our interests from us without paying any price. For us, interests are more important than life. Here, the least valuable thing is human life. Where is this? This is Hell's Kitchen. Preaching and persuading us will not work for us. We can stand out in this hell because we are ruthless. We have long sold our souls to the devil. You are also from hell. Don't you know the rules of our hell?" Tom's voice was full of teasing and contempt. Chen Ye was silent for a moment, then calmly replied. "I don't want to be your enemy, I just hope you can understand that education is the real way to change their fate. The children are innocent. They have been hated by people outside with sin since they were born. They don't even know what crimes they have committed. What did they do wrong? Is it wrong for them to be born in this world? They can't even speak or walk yet, but they need to carry the label of Hell's Kitchen, so that others can look at them with strange eyes. This is unfair to them. I know the world is inherently unfair. So there is no naivety to change this world. I just want to give them a chance. Let them prove that it is not their fault to be born in hell. They don't have the power to choose whether to be born in heaven or hell, but we can give them the power to choose, whether to choose to stay in this cruel hell with us bastards, or to climb out of this quagmire called Hell's Kitchen and never come back. His voice was firm and powerful, although he knew that in this violent and bloody Hell's Kitchen, such words might not be accepted. Chen Ye said what he should say. And Chen Ye didn't know how much the gang leaders present heard anyway. Chen Ye tried his best, and as for the rest, let's use strength to speak. Then Chen Ye stood up, glanced at the people present, and said domineeringly. Also, I'm not discussing with you this time. I'm just informing you that if you don't accept it, then follow the rules of Hell's Kitchen and fight one-on-one. Chen Ye paused, pointed his finger at the leaders present. I'll fight all of you alone, whoever doesn't accept it, go back. The winner will be decided in Hell's Kitchen tonight. You should call people when you need to. I know that all the leaders present have their own backups. It's better to call them all today, otherwise I'm afraid you won't have the chance to use them again. Also, leaders who are willing to sponsor, we can stay and discuss the issue of school sponsorship fees. Chen Ye's words officially ignited the anger of the gang leaders. Gus pointed at Chen Ye and said. Okay, you have guts. Wait for me tonight. I have been annoyed with you for a long time. Hell's Kitchen does not allow people who break the rules. Other gang leaders also stood up. They were angered by Chen Ye's provocation and expressed their willingness to fight Chen Ye to the end. They did not think that Chen Ye, a young boy, could fight against all of them. Face these angry, the gang leaders were fearless, and he knew that he had to speak with strength. Chen Ye will face the siege of many gang leaders. He must show amazing strength and wisdom to survive in such a battle. This battle is not only about his honor, but also about the future of the school and children behind him. Jin Bing, who was standing aside, knew that there would be a big drama in Hell's Kitchen today. He had witnessed the rise and fall of too many gangs, and he also knew that the gang leaders who opposed Chen Ye at the meeting today would stand here in this capacity for the last time. With a trace of pity in his eyes, he looked around at these people who were about to embark on a road of no return. Jin Bing knew in his heart that the resistance of these gang leaders to Chen Ye was tantamount to hitting a rock with an egg. He shook his head helplessly, watching their backs leave angrily one by one. He knew that after they returned, they would definitely gather their men and prepare to fight Chen Ye. And this battle, they had no chance of winning. In that case, then take care and I won't see you off. I'll be waiting for you in Hell's Kitchen today. In the meeting room, Chen Ye's expression remained calm. He knew the intentions of these gang leaders, and also understood their anger and disdain for him. Chen Ye also knew clearly that today there would definitely be more than just gang members. The forces behind them would also take action. The gang leaders who opposed Chen Ye left the meeting room one after another. Their faces were gloomy, and their eyes were full of determination. After they returned, they immediately began to gather their men to prepare for the coming storm. They vowed to make Chen Ye pay the price and let the outsiders know that their gang still has the final say in Hell's Kitchen. After a while, only a few gang leaders were left sitting in the huge meeting room. What surprised Chen Ye was that Tommy Shelby, the leader of the British gang, was still here. Tommy Shelby felt Chen Ye's gaze and slowly said, "Don't look at me like that. I'm different from those barbarians who only use brute force. I agree with opening a school. I can help you deal with them, but you have to pay enough benefits." Then Shelby paused and looked at Kingpin and Vongala I beside Chen Ye. Vongala I understood and patted Chen Ye on the shoulder. "I'll go back and prepare first. I'll take care of the gangs in the central area." Then he turned and left. Chen Ye waved his hand. "It's okay, we are all family, and Uncle Kingpin is the boss of Hell's Kitchen. Tell me what you want in detail." In the entire huge conference room, only Chen Ye and the other two were left to discuss the distribution of benefits. "I want the territory of the Irish gang," Tommy Shelby said straight to the point. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The news that Chen Ye was going to fight the people in Hell's Kitchen spread like wildfire, and the whole Hell's Kitchen was boiling. There was a tense atmosphere in the air, as if an invisible storm was brewing. Those residents who were strolling around were stunned when they heard the news at first, and then they quickened their pace and hurried home. Their faces were full of worry and uneasiness, as if they had a premonition of something terrible about to happen. The small vendors in Hell's Kitchen also closed their business early, and even nailed wooden boards to their shops to prevent them from being affected by the war at night. They stood at the door, looking at the gradually dimming colors in the sky, and their hearts were full of helplessness and worry. Chen Ye, however, walked towards the restaurant leisurely, as if nothing had happened to him. His eyes were firm, with a barely perceptible smile on his face. He knew that this battle was inevitable, but he was not afraid. Because he had confidence and believed that he could overcome everything. On the narrow streets, residents were busy on their way. However, when they saw Chen Ye, they all stopped. Some made a cheering gesture to him, which was a silent encouragement and support. Their eyes were full of admiration, because they knew that Chen Ye was fighting for the future of Hell's Kitchen. Others were worried about him. After all, this struggle was not easy. Come on, young man. As soon as the school starts, I will send my children there as soon as possible. A middle-aged woman shouted to him. Her voice was full of trust and gratitude, because she knew that everything Chen Ye did was for the future of the children. Chen Ye, thank you for everything you have done for Hell's Kitchen. I hope you can succeed. An old man patted his shoulder, his eyes full of expectations. Chen Ye felt the expectations of the residents, which made him more determined. He knew that this struggle could only succeed, not fail. He could not let the residents down, and he could not let his efforts go to waste. Unconsciously, Chen Ye returned to the restaurant. John Wick, Pietro, Deadpool, Dr. Ethan and others seemed to have made an appointment to wait for Chen Ye's return downstairs. Even Deadpool, who went out to earn extra money last night, came back. They gathered together and looked at Chen Ye with firm eyes. Chen Ye was very satisfied when he saw the group of people in front of him. I still have a group of friends. I will not lose. Why are you standing at the door? You are not worried about me, just stay inside. Chen Ye said with a smile, trying to ease the tense atmosphere. However, his friends did not respond to his words, but just followed him silently. They knew that in the next period of time, they would fight side by side for the future of Hell's Kitchen. In a corner of the restaurant, the discussion was going on, and the atmosphere was tense and solemn. Chen Ye, a young man with a heavy responsibility, swept everyone present with a serious look. The light in the restaurant was dim, but his eyes were as sharp and firm as a sword. Our opponents are not simple. Chen Ye's deep voice echoed in the restaurant. The Irish gangs in the West District, the Mexican gangs in the South District, and the Hand and Society behind them, S.H.I.E.L.D., these are the forces we must be vigilant against. At this moment, Chen Ye did not know that the Brotherhood of Mutants had also come to Hell's Kitchen, and their target was him. We must go all out for tonight's operation. Chen Ye said firmly. I have already negotiated with the British gang in the North District about the Irish gang in the West District. They will provide us with the necessary support. Uncle Jean Bing will take care of this. The Vongala family in the Midtown District will also help us deal with those small gangs. As for the S.H.I.E.L.D. combat team behind the Mexican gang in the South District, Master Yi and Lao Ma, they will be handed over to you. Is there any problem? Chen Ye looked at Master Yi and Lao Ma and asked, after all, no matter how big the Mexican gang is, there are only ordinary people inside. Chen Ye believes that Lao Ma can solve it with a legendary killer, and S.H.I.E.L.D. will be handed over to Master Yi. These two people should be able to solve it. No problem, I will not show mercy to drug dealers. Master Yi said confidently. If I am not mistaken, you should have reinforcements. Chen Ye said deeply, his eyes revealing an indescribable wisdom. The gangs are actually nothing to be afraid of. The most important thing is the Hand and the Society. The Hand and the Society will be handed over to Deadpool, Pietro and John. Deadpool, you can continue to earn your pocket money. Remember to bring your dog Deadpool. You still understand me, my dear Chen Ye? Tell me, are you in love with me? Deadpool asked teasingly, with a cynical smile on his face. As for Dr. Ethan, do you want to take Xiao Yi to Tony's place? Of course, you can stay in the apartment. I promise that no one can hurt you. Ethan smiled, I am not a burden, don't worry. Give me a gun, I will stay in the restaurant and fight alongside you. I will protect Xiao Yi. Seeing this, Chen Ye did not say much. Chen Ye paused and continued, I will stay in the restaurant and take command. If there is any emergency, I will notify you in time. At the same time, I must also be alert to possible enemies. Time passed in a tense and orderly atmosphere. Everyone was busy preparing for the upcoming battle. Chen Ye sat quietly in the corner of the restaurant, his eyes deep and firm, as if thinking about something. In fact, Chen Ye was talking to the system in his mind to see if he could provide help for the upcoming battle. When Chen Ye opened the system, he was frightened by a large number of system prompts. Congratulations to the host, Hell's Kitchen Resident D successfully added the host as a friend. Congratulations to the host, Hell's Kitchen Resident E successfully added the host as a friend. Congratulations to the host, Hell's Kitchen Resident. Chen Ye looked at the time of the system prompt, and it turned out that it was a prompt when Chen Ye just walked from Fisk Daxia to the restaurant. System, how many friend points do I have now? Currently there are 603 friend points, which can be exchanged for 6 family points. Do you want to exchange? The system asked. Exchange. Give me a lottery. System, Chen Ye said in his mind. Congratulations to the host for winning, thank you for your patronage. Sure enough, this damn probability. Chen Ye cursed. Go on, system. Draw all 5 for me. Chen Ye said with his eyes closed. Chen Ye closed his eyes and waited silently. Ding, the draw is complete. Congratulations to the host for drawing. Congratulations to the host for drawing the Lost Drive. Congratulations to the host for drawing the Eternal Memory. Chen Ye vaguely remembered Kamen Rider Eternal's catchphrase, come on, enjoy it in hell. Chen Ye looked at the 2 items and muttered to himself, Kamen Rider Eternal? Hell. It really suits me. System, is this really just a coincidence? Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was in a hurry to get out of the door, Hell's Kitchen.at this time. The 3 Deadpools followed the dog Deadpool and came to the door of the secret base of the hand. Looking at the building in front of him, the dog Deadpool sniffed his nose, then turned his head and said to John Wick and others, they should be in this building. John Wick, the legendary killer who has experienced many battles, was about to arrange tactics, but was startled by Deadpool's actions. I saw Deadpool pull out 2 knives from his back, and the blades flashed coldly under the light. He shouted, my money, your Deadpool grandfather is here. Then he rushed into the building without hesitation. Pietro on the side seemed to be accustomed to this. He put on goggles and followed closely. John Wick couldn't help but sigh. It was the first time he saw such a reckless way of fighting. He muttered to himself, are the boss's people so fierce? Shouldn't we sneak attack? But not at this time. The 2 members of the hand at the gate of Daxia saw Deadpool rushing over, and one of them immediately took out a walkie-talkie. Enemy attack. Deadpool would not give them a chance to spread the news. He rushed forward like a flash of lightning, and the knife in his hand drew a beautiful arc, directly splitting the hand member in half. Before the other member could press the alarm, Pietro moved to his side in an instant and knocked him to the ground with a punch. Then Pietro turned to John Wick and said, don't dilly-dally, these rubbish, just rush over. Deadpool took out his mobile phone to take pictures of the corpse, and then shouted, hurry up, don't delay me making money. After that, the 2 walked towards Daxia, and the dog Deadpool jumped up and continued to lead the way for the 2. Seeing this, John Wick held his forehead with one hand and looked up at the sky. It seems that I am not needed very much. Then he rushed into the building together. Inside the building, the security personnel had heard the sound of the intercom and found Pietro and others in the monitoring room. The alarm system of the building was immediately sounded. As the alarm sounded, the entire building of the hand seemed to be injected with vitality, and the originally quiet corridor instantly became lively. Countless hand killers came out in droves. Their eyes flashed with coldness and determination, and they were obviously fully prepared. Deadpool and others who had just entered Daxia were intercepted by 6 killers wearing hand uniforms and holding pistols. These killers had no expression on their faces, as if they were just cold-blooded machines. These hand killers quickly shot at them, facing the dense bullets fired at them. Deadpool seemed unusually relaxed. He held 2 knives in his hands and shouted, don't move. Watch your grandpa Deadpool perform. Deadpool moved at a dazzling speed. He chopped off the flying bullets with one hand. His movements were smooth and natural, as if he was born with such ability. Then, he combined the two knives, and his wrists turned faster and faster, forming a dazzling knife flower. The dazzling light seemed to illuminate the entire corridor. The 6 gunmen saw that Deadpool's knife chopped the bullets, and they were not surprised. And they kept shooting at Deadpool, until the pistols had used up all the bullets. The 6 gunmen saw that they had emptied the magazines, and they were very surprised to see that Deadpool on the opposite side was still like a normal person. Then they drew their knives and rushed towards Deadpool. Deadpool was still showing off and said to the stunned John Wick, "I am handsome, don't be fascinated by me." John Wick wanted to slap himself when he saw Deadpool's body full of bullet holes. Just now, he really believed that Deadpool could block all the bullets with a knife. "John, you don't really think he blocked the bullets with a knife, he just relied on his immortality to show off." Pietro couldn't stand Deadpool's show off. He directly used his ability and rushed to the front of the 6 Hand and Society killers in an instant. His speed was so fast that no one could react in time. The next second, the 6 Hand and Society killers took off directly and hit the ceiling and walls violently. Bang, bang, bang. The collision sounded, and when the 6 killers landed, their life breath had disappeared. Pietro's eyes flashed with cold light, and he was obviously not surprised by such a result. At this time, Murakami was sitting on the sofa in the room on the top floor of the building, thinking about something. Suddenly, the alarm in the building sounded loudly. A shrill alarm echoed in the hall. His brows slightly frowned, and a trace of doubt flashed across his face. The next second, the door of the room was knocked, and a man dressed as a ninja with a short sword on his back walked in. This person was Murakami's apprentice Xian. Xian came to Murakami and bowed his head and said, "It was Chen Ye's people who broke into the building. The people on the first floor have been dealt with." Murakami didn't care when he heard that the people on the first floor had been dealt with. Then Murakami stood up and said, "After all, it's still a step too late. Since the guests are here. Xian, come with me to greet our guests." Xian immediately nodded respectfully when he heard this. "Yes, master." He followed closely and stood behind Murakami. The two walked out of the room and entered a long corridor. The corridor was dimly lit, with only a few faint lights in the distance. The two walked in the corridor, and only heard footsteps echoing in the empty corridor. At this time, Deadpool and his group had already reached the 3rd floor via the stairs. Deadpool kept complaining, "Why don't you take the elevator? You have to take the stairs." Lord Deadpool hates taking the stairs the most. When John Wick heard Deadpool's complaints, the corners of his mouth twitched unconsciously. Taking the elevator is too dangerous. If the enemy throws a bomb or something, there is nowhere to run. Not everyone has the ability to be immortal like Deadpool, so for his own safety, John Wick had to persuade Deadpool to agree to climb the stairs. As soon as they entered the 3rd floor, several fully armed tactical teams with machine guns had been waiting for a long time, and they fired at the 3 people and the dog who entered the door. The bullets attacked Deadpool and others as if they were free. Seeing the bullets about to hit the 3 people, the members of the tactical team showed a ferocious smile on their faces, as if they saw a scene of blood and flesh flying. Seeing the bullets coming, just as Deadpool was about to take action. "Leave it to me." Pietro took the lead, and the next second the bullets that were coming at them were turned around and shot at the tactical team members. The members of the tactical team never expected that the bullets they shot would actually attack them in return. The hideous smiles on their faces had not completely disappeared before they were killed by their own bullets. All this happened too suddenly, and they fell to the ground before they even made any sound. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was sitting on the ground, and the old man was lying on the ground. At this moment, Murakami and Nobuya came to the 3rd floor and saw a mess. The originally magnificent hall has become dilapidated, with broken glass and furniture scattered on the ground. The Special Forces team has fallen in a pool of blood, and it is obvious that there is no breath of life. Murakami looked at everything in front of him. Without showing too much expression on his face, he glanced at Nobuya, and Nobuya nodded silently, and the two exchanged glances tacitly. Slowly, Murakami and Nobuya heard the footsteps becoming clearer and clearer. Picoro and John Wick over there were still busy dealing with those miscellaneous soldiers. The weapons in their hands flashed with cold light, and every swing was accompanied by the screams of the enemy. "This one should be worth 500,000, and this one without the ninja costume is 50,000. It's unlucky. When can I see my 10 million? Deadpool did not make a move. He was taking pictures over there. He was a little tired of dealing with the soldiers and complained there. At this moment, the dog Deadpool suddenly barked loudly, "Woof, I smell two people in front. The breath of the two is heavier than the previous people." Its voice echoed in the empty corridor, which was creepy. Hearing the dog's words, John Wick and others stopped moving forward. They began to be alert, holding their weapons tightly, and preparing to deal with possible dangers. Only Deadpool showed an excited look on his face. He immediately put away his mobile phone, and his body turned into a flash of lightning, rushing forward quickly, maybe because of the power of money. His speed was amazingly fast, as if a red lightning broke through the night sky. Deadpool soon saw two people at the end of the corridor, one old and one young, walking towards him. The old man was tall, with a dignified face and a black robe, giving people a sense of majesty without anger. The young man was thin, pale, and had a cold look in his eyes. The two were about to draw their swords to chop at Deadpool, but Deadpool suddenly took out his mobile phone and shouted, "Wait, wait. Let me see first." As he spoke, he looked down at the screen of his mobile phone. Murakami and his apprentice Shin were stunned, not understanding what Deadpool was doing. They looked at each other and saw that both of them had a puzzled expression. Deadpool was looking at his mobile phone, his fingers kept swiping the screen, and from time to time he looked up at Murakami and Shin, muttering, "Not this, not this." Then he raised his mobile phone and said loudly to Murakami, "Found it, you are my 10 million. On the mobile phone was a photo of Murakami. Murakami and Shin were confused by what Deadpool said, but they also saw that Deadpool was playing tricks on them. Shin clenched the knife in his hand, with a flame of anger burning in his eyes. He stared at Deadpool, then swung the knife fiercely. However, Deadpool easily dodged his attack at an incredible speed. "You are not my 10 million, my partners will be here soon, go find them." Deadpool quickly spit out a sentence with a playful smile on his face. Then Deadpool slashed at Murakami. Shin saw that he was ignored like this, and the guy in the red hood in front of him dared to be so rude to his master, and he became even more angry in an instant. "Come and die." Shin roared and slashed at Deadpool's back again. Bang, a gunshot rang out, a bullet hit Xian, and Xian could only change the attack route and use his short knife to block the bullet. Then Xian looked in the direction of the bullet, and it turned out that John Wick and others had arrived. John Wick took the lead and said to Xian, "I will be your opponent." John Wick proposed a one-on-one duel. After all, he had been rowing all the way. Finally, he had an opponent, and John Wick wanted to help. Then he rushed towards Xian. The battle between the two was very fierce, and their movements were as fast as lightning, dazzling. John Wick relied on his excellent marksmanship to continuously attack Xian, while Xian relied on his many years of ninja experience to cleverly dodge Wick's bullets. John Wick constantly used the gun in his hand to close the distance, trying to fight with Xian. Just then, John Wick found Xian's flaw and shot down Xian's short knife with one shot, and then the two began to fight with bare hands. The fight between the two lasted for a long time, and the figures under the moonlight danced and danced, dazzling. The power of Xian and the speed is quite good, but John Wick's wisdom and experience are better. He kept changing his moves, sometimes attacking and sometimes defending, so that Xian couldn't figure out his movements. In the end, John Wick defeated Xian with his own ability. His movements were like a precision machine, every attack was accurate, and every defense was just right. Xian gradually became powerless in the repeated failures, and was finally defeated by John Wick. Then John Wick walked to Pietro, who was watching the show, panting, and joined the crowd watching the show. Here, Murakami easily avoided Deadpool's slash. At first, Murakami tried to suppress Deadpool with his superb swordsmanship, but Deadpool's knife skills were also not weak, and he resolved them one by one with his almost absurd fighting style. During the fight, Deadpool did not forget to tease Murakami. "You don't look very strong with 10 million. Are you too old? You are already old, why are you still fighting? I know, you are as short of money as I am. Money is a bastard, it is always spent faster than earned." That even though Murakami is an old man who has seen the world, he has never seen such a mean person as Deadpool in his life. He couldn't help but get angry in his heart, and the strength of his attack gradually increased. Murakami suddenly launched a fierce counterattack. the knife in his hand turned into lightning, which caught Deadpool off guard. Deadpool was not panicked at all, and still teased, "Wow, this move is powerful, worthy of my 10 million. At this critical moment, Deadpool blocked Murakami's attack with his almost omnipotent blade, then, he used the force to push Murakami away. Murakami rolled several times in the air and landed steadily on the ground. Deadpool took advantage of this opportunity to look behind him, and saw that Pietro and others had already dealt with the young man who was watching quietly on the side. Deadpool also decided to get serious. "Sorry, I'm still in a hurry to collect my bounty, so I won't play with you for now. 10 million US. Then the two sides quickly launched the second round of attack and defense. Deadpool resisted Murakami's attack with his unexpected knife skills, and Murakami used his strength and skills to break through Deadpool's defense again and again. The strength of the two was fully demonstrated on the field, and every confrontation made people hold their breath. Pietro and others on the side also watched very enjoyably. At the critical moment, Deadpool decided to take an unexpected approach. He suddenly slowed down the speed of his attack, as if deliberately giving Murakami a chance. Murakami did not expect Deadpool to do this. He began to get carried away, and his attacks became more and more wild. Just when he was about to hit Deadpool with his full force, Deadpool suddenly launched a fatal counterattack. His knife accurately pierced Murakami's heart, killing him with one blow. Murakami's shocked expression froze at that moment. He couldn't believe his failure. Deadpool also quickly took out his mobile phone. He made a yeah gesture with his hand and took a selfie with Murakami's body. Murakami, one of the leaders of the Hand, died. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the same time, Master Yi and Lao Ma also came to the slums where the Mexican gangs were stationed. It was the first time for Lao Ma to come to the slums. He looked around and was shocked by the scene in front of him. Those dilapidated and dangerous buildings seemed to be in danger of collapse at any time. The piles of garbage gave off an unbearable stench. Lao Ma looked at all this in the slums and couldn't help but sigh. This is really a desperate place. I thought the environment in Hell's Kitchen was bad enough. I didn't expect it to be worse than Hell's Kitchen. Although Master Yi couldn't see, he could feel that there was a sense of despair and stench here through his observation hockey. He said in a deep voice, "Don't forget, man. This is also part of Hell's Kitchen. Aren't we here to get rid of the source of all this?" Old Ma instantly understood what Master Yi meant. Their target this time was the ruler of this place, Mexican leader Gust. This man not only controls the economic lifeline of the slums, but also uses drugs and violence to oppress and exploit the residents here. No time to sigh, it seems that the other party is ready. Master Yi seemed to be able to see through everything in the perception of the domineering sense of observation. He found that more and more people with weapons were approaching them, their footsteps, panting, and even the sound of weapons colliding could not escape Master Ye's ears. There was also a person with a very strong breath standing in the center. It seemed that the person was Gust's foreign aide, the leader of the SHIELD special team. Master Yi didn't think that a gang that started with drugs could have such a person. Then the snipers and gunmen who were ambushed around the dangerous building took the lead in attacking. The sound of bullets broke the silence of the night. Dense bullets attacked Master Yi and his team. Master Yi subconsciously raised his hand and wanted to use the power of the gravity fruit to get rid of these gunmen, but looking at those ragged, terrified and helpless homeless people hiding in the corner, Master Yi softened his heart. Master Yi couldn't bear to hurt innocent people, so he withdrew his hand, used his observation hockey to dodge the bullets and quickly rushed towards the gunmen. At the same time, Lao Ma also rushed to the bunker. Quickly. With his extraordinary shooting skills, he fired cold shots from time to time to create trouble for the enemy. Not long after, Master Yi and Lao Ma and others solved the first wave of enemies, but before they could catch their breath, a steady stream of gangsters rushed over like a tide. Gust, who was in the center, looked at this scene on the monitor and sneered. This Chen Ye is so ignorant of life and death, and he dares to be so arrogant to send only 2 people to break into my territory. I want them to go and never come back. Send everyone forward. I will give $5 million for each head, Gust ordered arrogantly. When the younger brothers heard about the huge bounty, they immediately rushed out like chicken blood. Crossbones, the captain of the SHIELD Rapid Response Special Forces, also saw the scene on the monitor and said with disdain on his face, "Mr. Gust, there are only these two people. Do you need our team to protect you? Gust, who was arrogant just now, suddenly became respectful. Mr. Crossbones, I am just in case. As long as you ensure that I am safe tonight, I will immediately propose to the mayor to donate $10 million to you tomorrow. Humph, then you should prepare your $10 million. Crossbones snorted coldly, and then stopped talking. Gust saw Crossbones' arrogant attitude, and his face was still flattering, but in fact, he had already cursed in his heart. If he hadn't been unable to beat the man in front of him, Gust would have thrown him to the dogs. At this moment, Lao Ma seemed a little overwhelmed by the enemies pouring in like a tide, but they still resisted tenaciously, relying on their superb body skills and tacit cooperation. They resisted the enemy's attacks again and again. Master Yi also understood that this couldn't go on, and then said to Lao Ma, "It won't work, you hold on first. Catch the thief first, I'll kill their leader. You are responsible for killing the group of people outside." Then, without waiting for Lao Ma to react, he saw Master Yi use his ability to rise from the ground, stepping on the ground and flying towards the center. Shift, I'm just an ordinary person. Old Ma cursed at the gangsters rushing towards him. Soon, Master Yi was like a flash of lightning, quickly crossing the battlefield and coming to the open space in the center. Although he couldn't see with his eyes, it didn't affect his gaze at Gust. The Rapid Response Special Forces team on the ground also noticed the arrival of Master Yi, and they raised their weapons without hesitation. The members of the Rapid Response Special Forces are all elites who have undergone rigorous training. They are well aware of Master Yi's ability, and the weapons in their hands are special bullets carefully developed by the Shield Research Institute, which can ignore gravity. Master Yi saw that his ability could not control the bullets, so he immediately put his hands down and began to control the stones on the ground. His ability was demonstrated again, and those huge stones seemed to be pulled by an invisible force, flying and rotating in the air, forming an indestructible barrier. Afterwards, Master Yi landed safely and slowly said to Gust, "Nice to meet you, I am Kane, Chen Ye's subordinate." "Nice to meet you, I'm asking you to die." Gust, who was standing by, pretended to be calm and shouted to Crossbones, "Kill him, you protect me." Then he quickly fled to the safe house behind. Master Yi saw that Gust wanted to run, and prepared to give Gust the final blow. However, Crossbones, who was standing by, obviously didn't want him to do so, and quickly shot him twice and punched Master Yi. Although Crossbones didn't have superpowers, as a disciple of the Master of Mimicry and having defeated Captain America several times, his fighting skills were also first class. On the other side, Old Ma was struggling to resist the remaining gangsters alone. Old Ma was in a very dangerous situation. The gangsters had strong firepower, and he was just an ordinary person. He kept shooting, changing magazines, and shooting again, but the enemies seemed to never end. Old Ma began to feel desperate, and he shouted loudly, "Fuck, is there anyone to help me? I heard that you need help, man." Leoma turned his head sharply, but saw only darkness. He thought he had heard wrongly, or maybe he was too nervous and had hallucinations, but the voice spoke again. "I said, do you need help, man?" At this time, a man in a red tights slowly walked out of the shadows. Leoma widened his eyes and looked at the man carefully. "Deadpool? Did you change clothes?" Lao Ma asked in surprise. The man in front of him was also wearing a red tights, but Lao Ma still found some differences. The most obvious thing was that he did not have Deadpool's iconic facial features. Daredevil heard it and pointed at his eyes in anger and said, "I am Daredevil. I am blind, I am not wearing an eye patch." Leoma realized at this time that the man in front of him was not an illusion, but a real person, and a reinforcement. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle was in full swing in the noisy Hell's Kitchen. The sound of gunfire and shouting was mixed together. Local residents were used to it, but today's movement was unprecedented. As a native of Hell's Kitchen, how could Matthew Michael Murdock not know the truth behind all this? Matthew Michael Murdock, a well-known identity of Daredevil, this name is feared among gangsters. And his true identity is a newcomer in the legal profession. During the day, he is gentle and rational, but at night, he will become a messenger of justice, using his fists and courage to fight against the evil forces that bring chaos to Hell's Kitchen. Although Matthew hates Kingpin, he has complicated feelings towards Chen Ye. He hated Chen Ye at first, thinking that Chen Ye would be as evil as his godfather. But later he admired Chen Ye because Chen Ye did many things that Matthew could not do. First, Matthew himself was not as rich as Chen Ye. As the only blind lawyer in Hell's Kitchen, even the rent was almost a problem, so he naturally had no money to help the residents of Hell's Kitchen. Second, Daredevil did not have Chen Ye's background. Although Matthew had tried to influence the community as Daredevil, the result was not satisfactory. His power was meager, and he could not change the community as profoundly as Chen Ye and protect the neighbors. When he heard that Chen Ye was targeted by the gang for building a school for Hell's Kitchen, Matthew himself wanted to contribute to Hell's Kitchen, so Matthew decided to pick a gang with the worst reputation, and the Mexican gang was the first target of Daredevil. Daredevil said to the exhausted Lao Ma, "It looks like you are exhausted. You should take a rest first. I will take care of this." Lao Ma was unhappy after hearing what Daredevil said, and he immediately stopped. "I can fight this level of battle all day long without rest," Lao Ma said firmly, and then fired at the gangsters again. Matthew saw Lao Ma's persistence and didn't say much. Then he rushed into the chaotic gang battlefield and started his battle journey. On the battlefield, Lao Ma said to himself while fighting against the gangsters, "Why is it another blind man? I was born to team up with blind people." Lao Ma's face was full of helplessness. With the addition of the mysterious reinforcement Daredevil, Lao Ma could clearly feel that the firepower of the opponent was gradually weakening. "I believe it won't take long to get rid of everyone and end the battle." Looking at the fierce Daredevil on the battlefield, Lao Ma couldn't help but sigh. Will becoming blind make him stronger? In the fierce battle, Daredevil showed extraordinary fighting skills and keen perception. He seemed to be able to predict the enemy's actions in advance and always make the most correct response at the critical moment. Every attack of his was full of power and precision, which was amazing. Lao Ma and Daredevil fought side by side and cooperated tacitly. They covered each other, worked together, and approached the gangsters' position step by step. On the other side of the battlefield, Master Yi and Crossbones were fighting fiercely. The rest of the Shield combat team had already lost their combat effectiveness and lay aside. Crossbones faced an opponent like Master Yi, and his face showed excitement. He hadn't met an equal opponent for a long time. The last opponent who could tie with him was Captain Wukai during World War II. "Your strength is indeed not to be underestimated. I haven't had such a good fight for a long time. Why didn't you use your superpower just now?" Crossbones praised. Master Yi smiled and responded, "Thank you for the compliment. I originally wanted to have a fair duel with you, but now it seems that I may not be able to defeat you without superpowers. Next, I will use my power." Master Yi was telling the truth. The opponent in front of him was very experienced, and Master Yi did not intend to use his power at the beginning. Master Yi's ability can easily cause large-scale damage, and he will have to ask Chen Ye to pay for it later. After all, Master Yi already owed Chen Ye too many favors, and he didn't want to cause trouble for Chen Ye again. But Master Yi found that he really couldn't beat Crossbones without his power, and he was even slightly inferior, so Master Yi had no choice but to use his superpowers. Crossbones is a powerful opponent, and his attacks are swift and accurate. After catching Master Yi's distraction at this moment, he suddenly launched a fierce attack. Although Master Yi reacted quickly, he was still hit hard by Crossbones. "How dare you be distracted when fighting me?" Crossbones sneered. Master Yi was not knocked down by this punch. He quickly stabilized his body. He began to adjust his state and refocus his mind. Crossbones did not give Master Yi too much time to think. He quickly launched a new round of attacks. Master Yi was agile and flexibly dodged Crossbones' attack, and at the same time used Gravity Chaos. Gravity Chaos can make the opponent feel the abnormal changes in gravity. Although Crossbones has special equipment, he still feels that his body is light and heavy, and he can't control his balance. Gravity Chaos makes Crossbones fall into extreme distress. Every attack and defense becomes extremely difficult, as if struggling in a chaotic gravity field. No matter how rich Crossbones' combat experience is, it becomes useless in such an environment. After a fierce battle, Crossbones finally couldn't adapt to this abnormal change in gravity. His movements became slower and slower, and his defense was flawed. Master Yi took the opportunity to launch a more violent attack, beating Crossbones back step by step. This battle seemed to have become a gorgeous dance. Master Yi was agile, like a bright star, shining in the dark. Although Crossbones was strong, he seemed powerless in such a battle. In the end, he was defeated by Master Yi, and the duel ended with Master Yi's victory, but Master Yi didn't kill Crossbones. After all, Crossbones was different from the gangsters in Hell's Kitchen. He was an official. If Crossbones was killed, it might cause more trouble. Besides, Master Yi's target tonight was the Mexican leader Gust from beginning to end. Then Master Yi slowly walked towards the safe house where Gust was. Gust, who was at the safe house, had arranged a helicopter to pick him up when Crossbones was at a disadvantage. When Master Yi arrived at the safe house, Gust had packed up some of his belongings and got on the helicopter. The helicopter's propellers were spinning, making a buzzing sound, and the entire plane had begun to take off slowly. Gust got on the helicopter and saw Master Yi coming, and hurriedly urged the pilot. "Take off quickly, take off quickly." There was a hint of tension and fear of death in his voice. After confirming that the helicopter had taken off, Gust shouted to Master Yi below, "I will be back. You wait for me." His voice was full of threats and provocations. Master Yi saw this and sighed slightly. "Your destination is only hell." Then he drew out his cane sword and shouted, "Hell Brigade." Then he turned around and left without looking back. The next second, the helicopter suddenly lost gravity, fell to the ground in an instant, and exploded. The flames shot up to the sky, illuminating the dark sky. Gust was buried in the sea of fire, ending his sinful life. "Oh no, do I have to pay for this?" Master Yi scratched his head. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The night fell, the moonlight filled the entire restaurant street, and the silver light illuminated every corner. However, on this quiet night, only Chen Ye stood alone in the middle of the street, and his figure looked particularly lonely under the moonlight. As if he was out of tune with this world. Everyone was proceeding according to the plan. Chen Ye looked up at the sky, and in the deep black curtain, the stars flickered faintly. His eyes also flickered with a firm light, as if announcing his determination to the endless night sky. He knew that as long as tonight passed, the fate of the entire Hell's Kitchen would change. Time seemed to freeze at this moment, and faint footsteps came from a distance, breaking the tranquility. A group of black-clad figures approached slowly. Their steps were steady and powerful, as if every step was provoking Chen Ye. They had ferocious expressions on their faces, and their eyes revealed a fierce light, as if they were evil spirits from hell. Those people held various weapons and approached Chen Ye step by step, as if they wanted to put him to death. They were obviously elite killers sent by the gang coalition, and each of them had a murderous look in their eyes. However, facing this seemingly aggressive black-clad figure, Chen Ye did not take it to heart. His eyes revealed a calmness and composure, as if all this was within his expectations. "I can't let you disturb the rest of the residents of Hell's Kitchen. It's been noisy enough during this period," Chen Ye said coldly, his voice echoing in the night sky with an irresistible force. He instantly activated his speed force, his body turned into a flash of lightning, and instantly passed through the encirclement of those killers. His figure danced in the air, and every move was with the force of thunder. Those assassins were knocked to the ground by him before they could react. Chen Ye's block is at the easternmost part of Hell's Kitchen. It is far away from other war-torn places and is a relatively quiet Pure Land. He originally thought that he could temporarily stay away from the disputes in this corner, but some things just don't go as one wishes. Just as he was enjoying this rare tranquility, a heart-pounding machine roar came from the sky. Chen Ye looked up and saw an armored figure cutting through the sky and slowly landing not far from him. It was a humanoid armor, emitting a cold metallic luster. "Why are you here, Tony?" Chen Ye asked curiously. He recognized the armor. Obviously, it was Tony Stark's masterpiece. Tony Stark, who was in the armor, appeared with a hint of disappointment and alertness. He chose to remain silent about Chen Ye's question. He originally thought that Chen Ye would react with shock and admiration when he saw his armor, but Chen Ye in front of him was just curious about his appearance. Chen Ye's eyes, through the steel mask of the armor, seemed to see through his heart. He knew that Chen Ye knew that the person hidden in the armor was Tony Stark himself. This feeling of being seen through made him a little uneasy, whether it was saving him from danger before or revealing the real culprit behind the scenes now. Chen Ye was too smart and too calm. This made Tony's heart ripple. and he began to have a new understanding of Chen Ye's unfathomable. He felt that in front of Chen Ye, he seemed to become transparent, and all his secrets were exposed. This cognition made Tony's attitude towards Chen Ye become subtle. They are friends now, but Tony knows in his heart that if they become enemies in the future, Chen Ye will undoubtedly be the most difficult existence. This Oriental man is like a double-edged sword, which can help Tony solve his difficulties, but may also give him a fatal blow at a critical moment. This complex emotion made Tony more vigilant when facing Chen Ye. He began to wonder if he should learn more about Chen Ye's past to better predict his future actions. Of course, now is not the time to think about this. "Dude, how did you know that?" Tony said as he unveiled his mechanical helmet. "Don't you think it's cool? This is my invention, my creation. Shouldn't you be shocked and admire my genius design?" Chen Ye looked at Tony and couldn't help laughing. "Tony, your narcissism is unparalleled. However, your armor is really cool, I must admit that." Tony's face showed a smile when he heard this, a satisfied smile. "Of course, I'm Tony Stark. My inventions are all first-rate. It was Ethan who contacted me and said you were in trouble and needed my help. So I came here, but it seems like you have solved it. You haven't told me yet, how do you know that the person in the mecha is me?" Tony asked curiously. Chen Ye pointed to the glowing device on Tony's chest. "Whose chest glows? Who else has the ability to build this mecha, and it's a flashy red color?" Tony looked down at his chest, and then said narcissistically, "Come on, this color is so beautiful and cool." Tony never thought he would be wrong. Chen Ye looked at Tony's smug look and couldn't help laughing. Yes, you and Deadpool have the same color. Do you want to form a group and debut? He's called Deadpool and you're called Iron Waiter." No, Iron Waiter doesn't sound cool at all. It doesn't match me at all." Tony shook his head with a look of disgust. "Iron Man, yes. Just Iron Man. Please call me Iron Man from now on." Tony suddenly said proudly. Chen Ye looked at Tony's proud expression and couldn't help but think of the confident and humorous hero he saw in the movie. He suddenly realized that although the real Tony Stark and the Iron Man in the movie have many similarities, there are also many differences. They are both so confident and proud, but Tony's confidence and pride are more real and kind. "Tony, do you think you are Iron Man?" Chen Ye asked suddenly. Tony was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "No, I'm not Iron Man. I am Tony Stark, and Iron Man is just one of my inventions. But I know that there is only one Iron Man in the world, and that's me." Just as Chen Ye and Tony were chatting, they were interrupted by a slowly approaching figure. An old man wearing an ancient helmet appeared. His steps were steady and calm, and he was followed by a man and a woman. This person is Magneto of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and the two behind him are Magneto's men, Pyro and Nightwalker. Pyro's ability is to control flames within a certain range, but he can only control flames, not create flames. So he wears a lighter all year round. Nightwalker is a mutant with the ability to move quickly over short distances and sense mutant genes. Magneto said to Chen Ye, "It seems that I have disturbed your party. I heard that you are also a mutant. Are you interested in joining our Brotherhood of Mutants?" His voice was full of charm and confidence. Chen Ye frowned when he saw the visitor, and asked uncertainly, "Are you Magneto?" Natasha and Hawkeye, agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., have been closely monitoring Chen Ye's actions. At this moment, they also noticed the arrival of Magneto and his party. "I didn't expect that Magneto would come to Chen Ye in person. If Chen Ye also joins the Brotherhood of Mutants, then the Brotherhood of Mutants will be greatly strengthened. I need to report this to Director Fury immediately." Hawkeye frowned and said, "I guess with Chen Ye's character, he shouldn't join Magneto's group. However, with the information we have now, Chen Ye may not be able to beat Magneto." Natasha analyzed calmly. "This is also good, maybe both sides can lose." Natasha's mouth curled up a sneer. "What a joke. It's not that I look down on Chen Ye, but I don't think Chen Ye has the strength to lose to Magneto. Because Hawkeye knew from the information in S.H.I.E.L.D. that Magneto is a powerful mutant with the ability to control magnetic fields. Almost no one can defeat him. Basically, those who go against Magneto will either become dead or his subordinates." Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very happy. This billionaire and genius inventor Tony Stark has always been the focus of everyone's attention. He is under the flash, and his every move can cause a sensation in the business, technology and entertainment circles. However, in this place, he was ignored, which made him feel extremely unhappy. Of course, the smart Tony saw that Chen Ye on the side was very vigilant and not as indifferent as usual. It seems that the old man in front of him is not simple, it looks like an enemy, not a friend. Then Iron Man put on his helmet and asked Magneto and Jarvis, "Scan who this person is for me." There was a hint of seriousness and alertness in his voice. Chen Ye was also a little curious about why Magneto noticed him. He looked at Magneto and said lightly, "I'm sorry, I have no interest in your brotherhood." Magneto. Although his voice was calm, it was firm and unquestionable. At this moment, the air seemed to freeze, the atmosphere between Chen Ye and Magneto became tense. Hearing Chen Ye's answer, Magneto's subordinate fireman took the lead before responding. "Our boss asked you to join, but you are so ungrateful." His flame rushed towards Chen Ye, and a hot breath came to his face. However, just as fireman launched the attack, Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man, reacted quickly. He flew into the air and cleverly avoided fireman's attack. At the same time, Tony's right-hand armor instantly transformed into a powerful weapon. A laser cannon shot out from his hand, pointing directly at Fireman. The powerful energy beam instantly extinguished Fireman's flame. Fireman was stunned by the power and stopped attacking. He didn't expect the mecha in front of him to have such strength. "It seems that we need to install the fire extinguishing function on the mecha when we go back. Jarvis, remember this." Iron Man said, a little dissatisfied after landing. Nightwalker beside him also saw that Tony was not simple, so she joined the battlefield. She moved instantly and appeared in front of Tony like a ghost. Without any extra movements, she kicked Tony directly. Although Iron Man's armor was powerful, it was still caught off guard by this sudden attack and was kicked out. At this time, Chen Ye stood in place, watching Tony fight with the two mutants with interest. He did not make a move. On the one hand, he had to be wary of Magneto, and on the other hand, he didn't think Tony would lose. Fireman and Nightwalker cooperated seamlessly. One attacked from a distance and the other fought in close combat, which made Tony quite difficult to deal with. After all, it was the first time for Tony to fight in a mecha and he was beaten back step by step. Despite this, Tony did not show any panic. With his extraordinary wisdom and Jarvis analysis, he tried hard to find the opponent's weaknesses. Although the fire of the fireman is fierce, his attack mode is single and easy to predict, and although the Night Girl is flexible and changeable, she lacks strength. Tony analyzed every detail in the armor, and at the same time used his rich combat experience to try to find a breakthrough. In this fierce battle, Tony showed amazing strength and wisdom. Under Chen Ye's gaze, Tony gradually found a way to deal with it. He used the quick response ability of the mecha to successfully resist the fireman's flames, and at the same time used the power defect of the Night Girl to cleverly subdue her. As the battle progressed, the fireman and the Night Girl gradually fell into a disadvantage. At this time, Magneto finally reacted. He looked at the scene in front of him with a frown. He did not want to lose the two men, the fireman and the Night Girl. Magneto's face gradually became gloomy, and he felt a strong threat. His hand trembled slightly, and a strong magnetic force was released from his hand, attacking Tony like a violent torrent. Chen Ye, who had been paying attention to Magneto, also took action immediately at this time. Chen Ye threw a red light at Tony with his right hand, resisting Magneto's magnetic force. "Old man, sneak attack is not what you should do. Your opponent is me," Chen Ye said jokingly with a playful smile on his face. Tony on the other side also noticed something was wrong, and instantly stepped back to distance himself and returned to Chen Ye. "Let me deal with this old man, who dared to sneak attack me just now," Tony Stark said vigilantly. "Let me do it, you are not his opponent. With your mecha, aren't you going to give it to me?" Chen Ye looked at Tony's mecha speechlessly, and Magneto crushed it with one hand. Chen Ye walked forward on his own. Tony seemed to understand that he was impulsive. After all, he knew that the old man in front of him was the famous Magneto, who just happened to restrain him. "It seems that I have to study a set of anti-Magneto mecha when I go back. Tony muttered in a low voice with unwillingness on his face. Magneto still looked at Chen Ye with a calm expression, as if waiting for his next move. He didn't seem to worry about how much threat Chen Ye's superpowers could pose to him. Your superpowers may not be useful to me, right? Magneto said playfully. Who said I want to use superpowers against you? There was a hint of mystery in Chen Ye's tone. Chen Ye took out a belt with his left hand and put it on his waist. He took out something like a USB flash drive with a striking letter E engraved on it with his right hand. Eternal. Chen Ye gently pressed the USB flash drive, and the USB flash drive made a sound. The USB flash drive was inserted into the slot of the belt, and Chen Ye's tone became firm. Transform. As soon as the words fell, a dazzling light burst out from Chen Ye, and the light seemed to contain endless power. After the light gradually dissipated, a brand new image appeared in front of Tony and Magneto. Chen Ye has transformed into a knight wearing white and blue armor, wearing a white mask and a black cloak, exuding a powerful aura. His cloak fluttered in the wind, as if symbolizing endless glory and power. Tony and Magneto's men stared at the scene in front of them with wide eyes. They didn't expect Chen Ye to have the ability to transform. This mysterious knight left a deep impression on them. Tony looked at Chen Ye's outfit in front of him and muttered in a low voice, "It seems that I also need to add a cloak to my mecha. It looks pretty handsome. How come this equipment has its own sound effects?" Magneto himself was quite surprised and relieved to see this scene. The young man in front of him could really surprise him. After the transformation, Chen Ye straightened his chest and scanned the crowd with a majestic look. He waved his cloak with his hand, and then said the classic line of Kamen Rider Eternal to Magneto. "Come on, enjoy the fun of hell." At this moment in a certain world, a man with a magenta camera was drinking coffee elegantly. Suddenly, he seemed to feel something and smiled evilly. "Hey, it's really interesting. I seem to feel that a new world has given birth to Kamen Rider again." Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was very angry. "I haven't fulfilled my wish yet, so I won't go to hell so early. It looks pretty good, but I don't know how strong it is. Don't you know that my ability can restrain these steel mechas inside?" Magneto was curious, but he still chose to take the lead. He slowly stretched out his hand, and a strong magnetic force was released from his hand, trying to use magnetic force to control Chen Ye, but no matter how he tried, Chen Ye stood like a stone statue. Chen Ye looked at Magneto with a surprised expression, and couldn't help laughing in his heart. Chen Ye seemed to see Magneto's doubts. He knew that Magneto's magnetic force had a strong control over the steel mecha, but the problem was that the masked man used a leather suit to hit him. As we all know, the masked man used leather suits, which did not contain any steel. How could your magnetic force be useful? Magneto was not angry after hearing this. After all, he was a man who had seen the world. He still had his unique smile on his face, as if everything was under his control. He grabbed the void with both hands, and the cars on both sides of the street immediately hung in the air, as if being pulled by an invisible force. Then, he waved his hands, and those suspended cars rushed towards Chen Ye like fired shells. Chen Ye stood there, not panicking at all. He calmly observed the situation. Chen Ye raised his leg slowly, aimed at one of the cars, and suddenly performed a roundhouse kick. The car was immediately kicked and rolled over, drawing a perfect arc in the air, and then fell heavily to the ground. Surprisingly, every roundhouse kick was accompanied by a blue flame, as if Chen Ye had a mysterious power. "Hey, old man, don't be like this. This is my territory." Chen Ye was obviously distressed that these cars were destroyed, and he didn't want his territory to be messed up. He pressed the USB flash drive on his belt again. Eternal Requiem, weapon. As soon as he finished speaking, a ray of light burst out from the USB flash drive, and then condensed into a sharp little dagger in his hand. This dagger exuded a cold light, and it was obvious that it was not an ordinary item. He held the dagger tightly and rushed towards Magneto. His eyes were firm and sharp, like a tiger coming down the mountain, and no one could stop his edge. On the street, the two of them fought back and forth, and started a fierce battle. Magneto controlled heavy objects such as cars and rails with his powerful magnetic force and launched continuous attacks, while Chen Ye fought back with his new power, Kamen Rider External. Because the two's attacks were too intense, their attacks were as fierce as a storm, and the energy waves were surging in the air, as if they were going to tear the sky apart. Tony and Magneto's two men had already retreated a lot, fearing that they would be hurt by the aftermath of their attacks. How can this Chen Ye be so strong? I didn't expect him to fight with our boss for so long. And why does his cape seem to be welded and never fall off no matter what? The fireman next to him sighed as he looked at the scene. There was a gleam of admiration in his eyes, and it was obvious that Chen Ye's strength convinced him. It would be great if Chen Ye joined our brotherhood, so that I could spend every day with him. The Night Walker said infatuatedly, her eyes revealing her admiration for Chen Ye. Humans always admire the strong, and Chen Ye's powerful strength undoubtedly made her heart beat. What's more, the men in the brotherhood are all weird. There are hedgehogs with thorns all over their bodies, and there are toads, but there are few normal people. If Chen Ye knew the mind of the Night Walker, he might feel a little helpless. After all, he didn't have much interest in Ni. Tony Stark was watching the battle from the side. His brows were furrowed, and his eyes showed a thoughtful look. He was obviously shocked by Chen Ye's performance, and began to seriously consider how to deal with this powerful opponent if he became an enemy with Chen Ye. Jarvis, record the whole process. I want to know all the data of Chen Ye's armor. Tony ordered, his tone full of determination. He not only wants to understand Chen Ye's strength, but also get inspiration from it in order to upgrade his steel armor. Damn it, I must upgrade my armor when I go back this time. And I have to go back to study the anti-Chen Ye armor before I can do it. Tony Stark said unwillingly. This battle was an important revelation for Tony. He began to realize that he needed to keep improving in order to deal with stronger enemies. He was determined to upgrade his armor after returning, and even began to conceive a research and development plan for anti-Chen Ye armor. This battle not only made him see the strength of Chen Ye, but also inspired his determination to pursue higher technology. Kid, you have such strength, why are you willing to wander around in this small and chaotic Hell's Kitchen? Magneto temporarily blocked Chen Ye's attack. He took a deep look at the young man and couldn't help feeling a little regretful. Chen Ye smiled slightly, with a firm light flashing in his eyes. This is my home. But Hell's Kitchen is not your end point. You have the ability to go to a better place. Magneto frowned. He didn't understand the stubbornness of this young man. How can anyone dislike their hometown? It is precisely because it is Hell's Kitchen that I should stay and change it. I am not the kind of person who chooses to escape when encountering difficulties. Chen Ye's tone was full of determination. Who would dislike their hometown? It is precisely because this is Hell's Kitchen that I should stay here to change it. I don't want to be a deserter. Sorry, I will live a quiet life. You should fulfill your dream yourself. Chen Ye said nothing more and he re-entered the battle. His attack was more fierce, and every attack was firm and courageous. Magneto began to feel pressure, and his physical strength was rapidly depleted. Time seemed to slow down, and every attack and every defense became extremely slow. Magneto felt that his physical strength was draining away bit by bit, while Chen Ye's attack became more and more fierce. Finally, in a rapid attack and defense transition, Magneto revealed a flaw. Chen Ye seized this opportunity and punched Magneto heavily in the chest. Magneto flew backwards and hit the wall. He struggled to stand up, looking at Chen Ye with surprise and admiration in his eyes. Let me end this. Chen Ye pressed the USB flash drive on his belt again. External maximum drive. As the sound effect started, Chen Ye instantly jumped into the air, his right foot ignited with blue flame energy, like a burning meteor, falling rapidly, ready to give Magneto a fatal blow. Fireman and Nightwalker saw that Magneto was in danger and stepped forward to stop him. However, at this critical moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded, breaking the tense atmosphere. Stop! Chen Ye was stunned, and subconsciously retracted his right foot that was about to fall. I saw a beautiful woman blocking Magneto, her clear eyes full of determination. Wanda, you are back. Chen Ye asked in surprise.